have been granted the role of putting on global supply chain excellence summits in its hour of maximum danger. I do not shrink from this responsibility. I welcome it. I do not believe that any of us would exchange places with any other people or any other generation. The energy, the faith, the devotion which we bring to this endeavor will light our university and all who serve it. And the glow from that fire can truly light the entire global supply chain event. And so, my fellow GSC team members, ask not what your company can do for you, ask what you can do for your company. Thank you very much. I don't know, didn't he sound presidential? I mean, yeah, so Nick, great job on that one. So with that, getting us kicked off this morning, please welcome again the Executive Director of the USC Marshall Global Supply Chain Management, Nick Vyas.
All right, good morning, everybody. I know it's the second day, early morning. Let's try again. Good morning.
Good morning.
And I think if anybody deserves the hand, Wink has been doing this MC job for 3 years in a row. And Wink, you always have something in your sleeves that surprises the audience. So big round of applause for Wink. Well done. Thank you. But honestly, if he had taped the meetings in preparation of this summit, it will not have sounded exactly the way Wink actually said, but something similar in terms of the intensity, the work, the preparation, right? First time in the 5 years of our supply chain summit, we decided to stretch our own boundaries by pulling 6 events in 7 days. So we started out with the hackathon, wrapped that up at 4 in the afternoon on Sunday. 5:30, we kicked off our reception for my 5th global supply chain cohort of 80 students, and then goes on to the VIP reception of this summit to the Friday being the business delegation. And honestly, I would not be standing here in terms of being able to accomplish all of these things without having a fabulous team behind me. So I would like to have, I'm going to quickly introduce my team in terms of the functional leadership and how each of them they play, and then obviously the team underneath them, they do a marvelous job. And instead of waiting at the end of the summit to recognize, I wanted to set the recognition in the beginning to emphasize the importance of how much work goes behind it and how these individuals, they perform beyond the means of excellence. So Eric Chow, who's my AD, who runs the center, as well as recruitment. Katie Lin. Katie runs the program side and academic affair. Marvi Epstein. Marvi, who is my... So Marvi basically runs me. She manages everything, my calendar to programs to, so that is a big job, and I think she deserves a special hand for that. Ruth, a person who actually really, a person who believes in karma without speaking. So she's a person of action who does work in the back, running the logistics, moving things around, and speaks very few words in able to accomplish that. And I wanted to kind of have really a grandeur celebration because today is a very special day for Ruth, which is her birthday. So at the sound of 1, 2, and 3, I want all of you guys to help me celebrate. Very special day for her. So 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Ruth. Happy birthday to you. Many, many more. Chrislyn, if you would stand up, who ran the project manager. Chrislyn started with the center when she was 14 years old. And I think she's been, for the last 3 summits, she's at the helm of running the entire program management for that. So thank you for pulling this event together. And all my students, if you will please stand up. They're in the back. They have done a phenomenal job of Steve, Richard, everybody please. Well done. Thank you, Naomi. Thank you, appreciate it. All right, so I just wanted to take a minute to reflect that without your help and doing what it takes in Higher Education Institute to pull this kind of event with the caliber efforts would not have happened. So thank you very much from me personally, okay? All right, so we talked about this yesterday, about the global conformity and connecting what we do in thought leadership, not only in US, but also in a critical part across the globe. Part of that initiative last year is we commenced the journey to work with the Dominican Republic in terms of how do we actually take a very critical network point in the Caribbean islands, close proximity to the US, and how do we actually build a partnership with the institute there that allows to transform some of the opportunities of creating logistics clusters, network infrastructure, that becomes an extension of what we're trying to do here in the stateside. And with that, I would like to introduce to you that we actually formed an MOU with the PUCCM, a university out of Dominican Republic, and I'm glad to welcome Immaculada Adames, who is the executive director for that program there. She'll come here, and I want to give a round of applause for our partnership with PUCCM. Let's recognize it. And she'll say a few words.
Good morning, everybody. It is a pleasure for us to be here in this 5th U.S. Marshall Global Summit. Dear Dr. Vyas, Executive Director for the Center for Global Supply Chain Management. On behalf of the Pontificia Universidad Católica Madre y Maestra from the Dominican Republic, it is a great honor to announce the strategic partnership established between our university and the USA Marshall Center for Global Supply Chain Management. The main purpose of this alliance is the creation of mechanisms where the Marshall Center and Madre y Maestra University promote scientific information and knowledge on logistic and supply chains in the Caribbean region through roundtable discussions, executive certifications, and applied research. We are aware of the high potential that efficient logistics has for driving progress and economic development while increasing competitiveness. Since 2003, the university has undertaken different academic initiatives in the interest of promoting the logistics in the Dominican Republic. It is the first university in the country we offer a master's degree in logistics, a program designed to enhance the core capabilities, levels of productivity, and competitiveness of Dominican human capital. In addition, for more than a decade, our Center of Technology and Continuing Education includes a supply chain management certificate as a response to the short-term needs of the industry in this topic. With this background, the university enthusiastically entered into this agreement with the USA Marshall Center, and as a result, established the Logistic Supply Chain Operation Studies Unit, this SLOG, as the formal counterpart for the implementation of this partnership. At this moment, our relationship with the U.S. Marshall Center and also this SLOG have been socialized among the most relevant stakeholders in logistics, supply chains, and operations in the Dominican Republic. And an advisory board has been established with the participation of 8 public and private institutions officially represented by their chief executives. This SLOG will serve as the local platform for the international certifications issued under the U.S. Marshall Center programs. It will also organize roundtable discussions with industry leaders and provide technical assistance to business clusters and professional associations. At the same time, it will develop customized education and training solutions. On behalf of the PUCCM University, Rector Dr. Ramon Alfredo de la Cruz Valdera, and on my own, we express our gratitude to the U.S. Marshall Center interest in our university, and especially our acknowledgement to Professor Vyas for his great efforts in making this alliance possible. We are confident that our joint work will be productive and positive for both institutions and for our country, as a clear step forward to achieve the goal of making Dominican Republic the Caribbean hub for logistics and supply chain. Thank you very much, Nick, for your effort and assistance. Thank you to all of you for the opportunity to be here.
Okay, the next speaker that I'd like to actually introduce to you. We talked about the mission of our center, where we wanted to connect the world with network education and applied research. And truly, being in Los Angeles as the University of Southern California, there is no better place for us to become the institute taking a leadership on working on problems that face every single municipality than working with the San Pedro Bay, which is a part of Los Angeles and Long Beach. What an incredible opportunity. And the leadership of the executive director of Port of Los Angeles, Seroka, who not only I've known through my engagement with the center, but for the last 25 years, has shown an incredible transformative leadership to take that approach and really engage with the center to drive what we call outside-the-box thinking. So without further ado, let's give a big round of applause to Seroka, Executive Director of Port of Los Angeles.
Thank you, Nick, for that kind introduction. And I thought first, within my 15-minute slot this morning, we'd show just a brief video about the Port of Los Angeles, the San Pedro Bay, and our supply chain system. And I think if we do this the right way, okay, let's try it a different way. Chrysalis, it's all yours.
Welcome to the Port of Los Angeles, the busiest container port in the Western Hemisphere. Los Angeles is America's center for international trade. a global model of innovation, security, and sustainability. Welcome to America's port.
The Port of Los Angeles, 7,500 acres, 27 terminals, 270 berths, 43 miles of waterfront. More than 50 container trains daily, 22 million local consumers, nearly $1 billion of cargo per day, 86 container cranes, almost $300 billion in annual trade. Continuously improving upon efficiency, speed to market, reliability. As the gateway to connectivity, the Port of Los Angeles has committed hundreds of millions of dollars to ongoing capital improvements. Main channel depth of 53 feet. Big ship ready and serving the largest vessels in the Trans-Pacific trade. Progressive terminal and backland improvements. Continually advancing future technology. Expediting goods to 14 major U.S. freight hubs. By water, by rail, by truck, goods movement through the LA Trade Gateway is fast and efficient. The caravan of cargo never stops. Supporting the cargo trade that moves through the nation's busiest container port requires the most skilled, efficient, and reliable labor force. A longshore workforce over 14,000 strong. Fast ship turn times. On-dock rail capability at every container terminal. Reliable and professional truck drivers. World-class leadership delivering our customers' needs for tomorrow, today. The Port of Los Angeles is at the forefront of environmental change in the port and maritime industries. A catalyst for green technologies. World leader in shoreside power for cargo and cruise ships. World's first clean truck program. Significant air and water pollution reduction.
The Port of Los Angeles offers shippers unmatched capabilities, from the large volume of cargo our terminals can process, to having North America's largest port workforce, clean truck fleet, on-dock rail network, and regional portfolio of warehouse and distribution centers. Above all, we take pride in our ability to deliver exceptional value to our customers through strong relationships across the global supply chain and our focus on technology, sustainability, and land asset utilization. We're here to enable your business needs, and that's our commitment to you as America's port. While we're loading up the presentation, the video you just saw depicts a lot of the vital statistics about what our port does every day, and the sheer vast land use, water use, et cetera. But there are some other stats that are equally as impressive. Today, in Southern California, 1 in 9 jobs is related directly to this port. That is more than 1 million in the 5-county Southern California area. In our harbor department in Los Angeles, about 1,000 folks go to work every day. On the docks between Monday and Friday, about 100,000. And in the region, about 1 million. All tied to that port, from exporters to railroad personnel, administrators like myself, dock workers, and many others. Throughout the nation, about 3.3 million folks have jobs related directly to this port complex in driving commerce. But I think the most impressive statistic of all, of the freight and passengers that traverse our port daily, we touch each and every one of our nation's 435 congressional districts. That's the impact this port complex has on the nation. And the work that we do in that area is all driven towards that. Specifically, jobs creation, economic value drive, and what we can do to forward our proposition of value-driven supply chain management. Overall, in California, as many of you know, most often we are considered to be a landlord port, and that is by doctrine here in the state of California in legislation. We have tried to do things just a little bit differently. With that value-added proposition, bringing a hybrid model to this port complex has been something that we take a great deal of pride in. Adding value. We're not going to sit in a boardroom and dictate to our customers and stakeholders how to run their business. We're not going to put punitive legislation in place that will drive behavior in different ways. But we will, through great additions in our high-performance workforce of bringing folks who have industry knowledge, those who understand the government and its architecture at the federal, state, and local level, as well as folks who know how to manage money in the proper way to help drive that value addition. That port complex, as described, is the gateway to more than 40% of our nation's imports worldwide. Staggering in and of itself. And our port in particular manages about 30% of the share of all ports business nationwide. It is an unbelievable responsibility to try to steward this program forward, capitalizing on its brand for 110 years and trying to modernize as our industry continues to go through profound change. Investment is something that we talk about on a regular basis with respect to our infrastructure nationwide. Over the last 5 years, ports of significance in our country have invested approximately $50 billion in the bricks and mortar of what we do: water, channels, fortified wharfs. The estimate over the next 5 years is triple that amount. While calling for policy change and looking for ideas on how to shape infrastructure investment, I think some key attributes come to mind immediately, and that's the concept of bringing folks together for public and private partnership. We'll talk about that a little bit in a moment. The federal government has some ideas that are already in place, but we'll need to enhance those ideas and bring forward policy that will help enable ports of all sizes throughout the country to flourish. In our own area, over the next 10 years, our capital investment program is about $2.6 billion with numerous projects. And as you can imagine, with 43 miles of waterway, once you complete a project, you're on to the next one, working many in parallel fashion. And that work is all done to support the efforts of managing the change within the industry. Larger vessels, mini peaks, having the ability to manage and be nimble as we move forward in that industry is also of paramount importance. In this particular area, we not only have the container business of which the supply chain is built around for the Port of Los Angeles, but 7 other distinct lines of business that also require investment and funding in an ongoing basis. And that, trying to navigate through, is of great importance to what we are attempting to accomplish. Our industry is well known for change, and in recent years, never more profound than what we're witnessing today. At the beginning of last year, we had more than 20 liner shipping companies. By the end of the next announcement, we'll have less than 12. The consolidation, bringing together of different parties, also makes for new thought process in how we adapt to change very quickly. The infrastructure that has been developed here in Southern California was the vision of one of our most famous mayors, Tom Bradley, and the longest-serving general manager at the Harbor Department, E.Z. Burtz, who 40 years ago had the vision for deeper water, wider turning basins, and fortified wharfs. That has prepared us for what we're witnessing today, and the ability to carry that forward will be of great importance now more than ever with the advent change in this industry. We witnessed for the first time on April 1 the first ever shotgun start of alliances in the Trans-Pacific trade. Simply stated, all new services came into play on one day, leaving from Asia, arriving towards the West Coast. Because of the planning of this stakeholder group, 6 months prior to that announcement and launch, we were able to manage the change, which was quite swift and dramatic, without one single service failure. And that really is the power of collaboration and bringing folks together, much like this group here today, that have been working tirelessly and behind the scenes to make sure that we can adapt to change. Many of these movies we've seen before, and trying to learn from those and move to the future has really been a success of this group in its entirety. Our focus has been threefold. Process management, number one. How we can better work through supply chain optimization and the great efforts between the ports of Long Beach and Los Angeles who sit at the confluence of all these activities and use the convening powers to bring people together under one roof, some who have not had business relationships prior, and get folks looking at solutions. At the same time, the work here at the University of Southern California has been paramount to what we wanted to do. It would have been very easy to have someone write a white paper and tell us for a lot of money exactly how we needed to move forward. We thought using the platform of academia and the great research capabilities of this fine university was an immense start to what we needed to do. And using this opportunity to bring folks together through the educational process. Nick, I believe we have no less than 8 PhD candidates working on the port solutions applied research today. And that allows those folks to catapult their careers as well as adopt discipline on our side to bring to the industry. What we've seen thus far in the research, which is nearly complete, has us not only optimizing our supply chain from our node and others beyond, but also reducing our carbon footprint. And that has been something to me that has been extremely impressive by the work of these students at this university. Nick, I applaud your efforts in that area. In an industry where it's very easy to point fingers and rely on others within this chain of events, we have taken a leadership position. In the area of technology, we are investing in both blue and green tech. On the green tech side, it's about enabling manufacturers, OEMs, and their tiered suppliers to understand that they have a market here in Southern California, and why we will continue to use the test protocol and demonstration projects to advance our ideas of zero and near zero emissions capabilities. It's about being that market maker and giving the confidence so we can put research and development money as well as manufacturing influence toward what we need in our industry. And that's something that will continue to differentiate us from other capable supply chain members and bring cargo to Southern California. Secondly, on the blue tech side, we're going to make an announcement next Thursday of an enhanced and renewed partnership with General Electric Transportation. I'll share a little bit about our vision, but realistically speaking, this will be transformative in the supply chain as we know it today. And thirdly, strategic land use. And the work that we're doing there, we're not going to go beyond the 7,500 acres. This property we hold in trust for the people of California. But what we can do to repurpose land and make sure that we stay ahead of the curve and remain forward-leaning for the usage of our stakeholders is of great importance to all of us. A little bit about General Electric. At the depths of congestion during the winter of 2014 and 15, we heard from numerous stakeholders about the need for information sharing, visibility, track and trace, but more importantly, predictive analytics, and those that could be prescriptive for individual stakeholders. We went out as a municipal agency for public bid, and through the Department of Commerce, we were linked with General Electric Transportation and their leader, Jamie Miller. From there, we began discussions on what we could do to bring stakeholders together. And again, through the Department of Commerce and the Federal Maritime Commission, we were availed the opportunity at a national level to discuss with potential partners how the future should look. And that allowed us to bring together user discovery sessions, focus groups, and hear directly from the folks in our supply chain of what they needed for tomorrow. At the forefront of this were two great companies, Maersk, the largest liner shipping company in the world, and here today, Mediterranean Shipping Company, represented by Bob Magna and Stephanie Hughes, who at the hackathon last year raised their hands and asked to volunteer for this pilot project with General Electric. We then chose AP Moeller Terminals, the largest terminal operator here in Southern California. And the ability to go through a pilot project and a test protocol to see what we could learn and how we could understand how this would affect the supply chain has delivered monumental results. We were told by the economists that we needed to get a sample that was statistically significant, and I think we've done that. Next Thursday, the announcement to widen this reach, port-wide and beyond, will be right in front of us. The GE folks represented by Brian Hill, Julia, and Nanette Efred, who were here during the course of this week and also participated with us in our second hackathon over the weekend, are also very forward-thinking. The ability to blend not only with students but commercial interests to try to drive this information sharing is core to their DNA. And the work that they will do in the future will be an encompassment of all folks involved in trying to digitize the supply chain. The recipe is pretty simple, and it's simply aggregating all of the supply chain data points that exist today, many of which in siloed form. But to get folks to share their information and to build on the relationships that we've had for decades really is the core to what we're attempting to do. And I, as a longtime supply chain person, am so heartened by the outreach of our supply chain community in trying to solve these immense issues. And the selfless, tireless acts of many are starting to pay dividends. Our signature project is with a fellow who has become a close friend over the past couple of years to our supply chain community. Jonathan Rosenthal, who represents Saybrook Capital and Port Solutions, has rolled the dice with us. An 80-acre parcel of property right in the middle of Terminal Island at the nation's busiest container port had laid dormant for more than a decade. Again, through public bid, Jonathan came through with something that was of unique approach. A true public-private partnership with investment of more than $150 million, including flyovers, first and last mile connectors, renewable energy concepts, in addition to augmenting the port's capacity between 10 and 30%. We'll begin again next Thursday at our board meeting with the approval of a new permit for testing purposes at this piece of property, known as the Harbor Performance Enhancement Center. This will help the conveyance process, lessen congestion at our port terminals, and allow for the truck community to make speedy turns and deliveries to and from our customers' facilities. Nowhere else has this been done yet with near-dock property that we are offering. But again, that partnership and that lending of belief in community really has driven this concept. Moving forward, we're trying to answer the question of what a 21st century port looks like. It is one of collaboration and work and how government, private sector, and investors can come together at one time. I have had the privilege of serving and representing the City and Port of Los Angeles on 4 federal committees with the Department of Commerce, Transportation, and the Federal Maritime Commission, DOT having 2. That work was asked of us to remove our local hats and try to do what's better for the nation, raise our level of competitiveness, and add value where we could replicate best practices. We also take that very seriously, and the ability for us to pilot some of these ideas right here in LA has resounding effect across the nation. We hope that will continue, and that spirit of collaboration driven by leadership in the Department of Commerce is witnessed this week with participation at the hackathon and right here at this event, I think are solid footing for us to go forward. Our job as a municipal agency is to deliver value to our stakeholder groups. We don't necessarily operate as a private sector company, but we do. The rules of engagement are a little bit different, predicated on city charter and state legislation. At the end of the year, if our checking account reads 0, we've invested back in our supply chain, our community, and our environmental stewardship. And that is the path that we will continue to take. And in essence, if we can continue through the leadership of Nick and others here who have drawn more than 500 representatives since Saturday morning to collaborate, share ideas, and find the next generation of leadership in our industry, we will have done our duty. Nick, I thank you very much. And I think we're just a little bit ahead of pace. If there are any questions or comments, I think we can take 1 or 2. And I'm sure I didn't answer everything with 5 slides. Okay, with that, I thank you very much and look forward to the rest of the conference.
Thank you, Gene. Enormous responsibility you have. Never realized 1 million jobs, people's jobs in Southern California here tied to the ports. That's a tremendous responsibility. And if you know Gene, Gene is the consummate gentleman, always professional and very approachable. So thank you, Gene.